Man, it's still raining outside.
Hello, citizens of YouTube land.
Hey!
It's your president, Andrew VP. And this time, it's actually just a one-off, guys, because we felt like, why not? So we just got through watching a film called The Mighty Max, which is a 2007 film that actually didn't get distribution until 2011 because, well, they didn't have any money for it. So
Yeah.
it's an independent film, and it's the story of um, Kathy
Kathy
Rush.
Rush.
And she was the head coach of I hope I'm saying this right, Immaculata College, which later became Immaculata University.
Yeah.
And she is, it was her first, actually, uh, it's based off of the real life story, but there were some differences in that this movie basically combines her first and second seasons together.
Yeah.
There are elements from her first season there and her second, but it mainly focuses on the fact that this little bitty college won a national title, guys, at a time when they didn't really have an NCAA women's tournament. It was called something else,
It's called the AIAW.
which later was it was absorbed by the women's NCAA.
Yeah.
And so she's a first time coach, basically, which again, actually, she had had a couple of coaching jobs before this, guys, in junior high and high school in real life. So, but it's her first real coaching job. And she gets there, and they basically give her the job because, well,
No one else signed up for it.
yeah, she's the only one that applied for it. And they gave her a
So
salary.
what is someone supposed to do?
And hold on one second because I got to pull this back up. It's very important in some ways. This movie actually has some fairly heavy hitters in it for an independent film.
Oh yeah.
Carla Gugino is somewhat famous. She's been in movies like Gerald's Game and San Andreas and Night at the Museum.
She was in Night at the Museum.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where I know her from. Also, it has Ellen Burstyn in it, which, in case if you don't know, last time she was on this channel, she was in The Month of Halloween Horror and the movie The Exorcist.
Go back and watch it.
Go back and watch that, by the way. It'll be right there.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere. It'll be in that corner over there. But no, what's really funny is that I said to myself, I was like, there's so many jokes we could make if she was a nun in this movie, and she's the lead nun in this movie.
Yep. She definitely is. And it also stars David Boreanaz.
Booth!
Yep. You guys out there might know him from Booth. And also kind of a crappy little horror film called Valentine.
And you may also know him from Buffy the Vampire Slayer as the guy named Angel.
Right.
And the TV show Angel. But most people will probably know him from the TV show Bones. So, as he plays as the character Booth.
Yeah, that's basically the gist of it, guys, is that she's she's at this first it's her first year in this college, and what she knew about it was that it was an all girls college and that their basketball team wasn't very good at the time. And they had no money at all because their gym had burned down 3 months before she got there. And they couldn't even replace the gym. They had to use the rec center, which again, it deviates from the story a bit because they didn't even have any home games in their home area the first year she was there. All her games were away. And so you get kind of a standard story here, guys, where it's the ragtag group of misfits that rises above all the challenges and ends up winning it. The Cinderella story, which, mind you, is not a bad film. Yes, it's full of cliches that you've seen before. But hey, guys, if you've seen a movie like Hoosiers, then if you like Hoosiers, you're gonna like this movie because it's basically a female version of Hoosiers, except of course, well, actually, uh, there is a bit of a comparison here because the head coach in Hoosiers, most of you guys who've seen this know that he was a little unorthodox, excuse me. And there's this scene where late in the movie where she's pushing her girls, and she has her do basically slides through this tunnel that's basically just a culvert with water through it, and she makes them go through it over and over and over and over. And that's very similar to the fact that the head coach and Hoosiers had actually been suspended for losing his temper before he got to the school.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a similar situation there. And I know that I'm kind of comparing it a bit, but also the movie is interspersed with little elements that you might get from a movie like this. There's the conflict between the couple. In this case, it's Kathy and her husband. Sometimes, if you've seen movies like this, it's actually the husband who's having the conflict with the wife. But in this case, it's the different. And then, of course, you get the obligatory "I care about these girls" or "I care about these kids" scene.
Yeah. Well, actually, that I was just thinking about it. That scene with the girls going through the tunnel over and over again, it kind of reminded me of Cobra Kai. Which, if you haven't seen that show, you should totally go and get a subscription to Netflix and watch it. It kind of reminded me in the Cobra Kai episode where Johnny makes him go into a cement truck.
Yeah, I can see that too. Because so, like I said, guys,
I'm sorry.
They have no money. And so they only have one basketball, y'all.
And their basketball's like old and ragged and deflated
and so the college has some hard times.
And they're thinking in that.
And it would take a miracle to right the wrongs of the ship. So yeah, guys, like I said, there's also the relationships between the girls and how they're at first they're not too keen on her because they're like, well, if she has a husband, why is she even working? Because guys, it's 1971, so there's that. It's the beginning of the feminist movement where women started to realize that they didn't necessarily have to be housewives, but they could choose to be,
and that they were also demanding for like equal rights and equal pay and all that. And it was honestly a pretty polarizing time in the 70s. And one of my favorite TV shows, that 70s show, if you don't have a subscription to Peacock, you should and go watch it, actually tackles this issue in the form of the character Midge.
Because sometimes, around this time, women were starting to get a little disillusioned with their lots. And I'm not making light of it all. In fact, I fully supported all that happened back then. That they gained the freedom to be able to express themselves and things of that nature, y'all. So, like I said, at first they're no good. They get beat. And they get beat bad.
Yeah.
But because it's a sports movie, y'all know how it goes. And it's okay because you expect things like this. You get the obligatory sports montage. You get the inspirational speeches. You get the fact that they start winning, of course, because they've been motivated to play the game. And so it all kind of wraps up in a nice, neat little bow because this lady, Kathy Rush, is a Hall of Fame women's basketball coach. And she won her national title, which, I'm kind of jumping ahead, guys. And I know the VP, he had to go talk to the first lady. He'll be back in a second.
Hi!
Yeah. So, and like I said, at first the husband's not real supportive, and then he comes around, and he starts to see things, and there's some questionable calls that happen in a game, and they get beat pretty badly actually by Kathy's alma mater, the Westchester State at the time, and they lose by 42 points, y'all. But
What's alma mater?
that just means that you graduated from that school, basically. Like when you graduate high school, Branson will be your high school alma mater. And when you graduate C of O or MSU, wherever you end up going to school at, that will be your alma mater. It just means that's where you went to school and graduated from, basically. So, yeah, I know I've sped this so long, and I know I'm not giving a complete details of the story, but guys, if you've seen movies like Hoosiers, then you kind of already know the drill. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And fun fact, the director actually had a distribution deal with Disney, but Disney wanted to add some coarse language and make it a PG movie, which is not the movie that the director wanted to make. He wanted to make a G-rated movie about this woman's life, and so that's what he did. And that's another reason why it took him so long to get a distributor.
Because that's how accurate it would have been. Because, if you go to a Catholic school, you wouldn't be using coarse language,
At least not around
the nuns.
The nuns and the coach herself. The girls might still talk like that because girls, they talk like girls will when other adults aren't around. Yeah. Just like boys will talk like boys when other adults aren't around.
What are you doing that for?
Because I know what locker room talk is. I am a man and I understand. So, yeah, guys. But yeah, so they lost, right? 42, they lost by 42 points. But, and this whole time, she's actually has a lot of conflicts with the head nun, also known as a mother superior. She, also known as Reverend Mother in this film. She's all three, by the way.
She's the president, the mother superior, and the Reverend Mother.
And there's also the father, who, guys, I don't know the man's name, but I've seen him before. He was in the TV show Oz, and he had played a Catholic priest in that show. So that's where I remember him from. And so they have the conflicts throughout where she kind of gets punished for that thing that I told you about, the culvert scene. They told her that was only going to be her only season there. But a miracle happens because even though they got beat
less,
and even though they got beat by Westchester State, they still got a bid to the national championship.
They got a large bid to the national championship.
And so, at the very end,
they were 15. They were placed 15th seed.
Mm-hmm. And they beat teams like, along the way in this season, guys, they beat teams that you'll recognize: Mississippi State, Princeton, and Penn State. All teams that people understand and know, and they beat them. And so, like I said, so it comes down to the finals, and it's Westchester State again versus Immaculata College, and it comes down to basically the person that she had taken the most interest into, Teresa. It comes down to her, and in one of the games that she wins a foul shot, she gets a foul shot, and that's how they were able to move on. And in the final moments of the game, they managed to beat Immaculata College by 2. It was a slim margin, but it was quite the turnaround. And she said that in the voiceover, she tells us, the audience, that the college, it rebounded from its troubles of the early 70s, became a really good Catholic school, went co-ed in 2005. It gives us the epilogues of what happened, and most of her players became coaches in their own right. And
they're even inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame like she was.
yeah. And the funny thing about all of it was, though, guys, is that she was very young in herself. She was only 22, which makes her not much younger than or not much older than the players that she was coaching. And overall, guys, I'd say that, yeah, it's full of the cliches that you would expect, but the performances are there. You know, there's this scene where she's comforting one of the girls after a breakup. And it's a really pivotal scene because the girl just broke up. She thinks her life is over. And she's like, no, what's that guy going to miss about you? And she starts naming off different qualities that make her a good person and make her somebody that she should want to be. She had this habit in the movie, guys, of building her players up. Because in this movie, if she succeeds, they succeed. If they succeed, she succeeds.
Also, the school succeeds.
Yeah.
And the school doesn't get sold off like they were going to at the beginning of the film.
They were so out of money, guys. They had to resort to selling hand lotion. And there's this scene where the two girls knock on the door, and an overweight man answers the door.
An overweight old man answers the door
with gross feet.
And then they're like, yeah, it could cure dry feet. And you know what? My partner here is going to put some on your feet.
Yeah. So, guys, for me, it's a solid 4 out of 5. What say you?
Also a solid 4 out of 5. This is a perfect cleanser that we needed after watching all of the grime and filth that we've been watching lately.
It was good grime and filth, but yeah, sometimes
you
need a G rating. You need a G-rated movie to help you with all of the other stuff that you've been watching in a way. So it was kind of a way of us to feel good a little bit. And not that we didn't feel good about the month of Halloween horror, guys. Don't get us wrong.
Guys, we were watching movies like Evil Dead, The Omen, and The Exorcist.
Yeah, we did. And
this G-rated film probably helped us wash off some of that filth and grime.
But like I said, it was good filth and grime. But yeah, they were unpleasant experiences at times, and this was really pleasant. And like I said, we're not knocking those movies at all. Most of the movies that we covered in the month of Halloween horror, we actually like and love most of them. But yeah, we felt like it was time to maybe do, and we just like, oh, we're in the mood. And he's like, hey, how about a family film? And I was like, sure, I'm in the mood for this type of movie, and that's what we settled on. And guys, if you've seen the movie and you think it's the worst sports film ever, it most certainly is not. There are much worse out there than this film, and it definitely doesn't deserve the 47% because, like I said, it's well written, it's well shot. Yeah, it's cliched, but sometimes that's exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And so we'll see you guys next time, where it's going to definitely be the
Omega Man.
The Omega Man, where the next remake in the Last Man on Earth saga here. But until then, the only thing left to say is
peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye.